They thought uninviting me from a family dinner would silence me instead. It became the spark that exposed a $1 million fraud, shattered a perfect facade, and forced the truth out of the shadows. This isn't just a story about betrayal, it's about what happens when the quiet one finally speaks. I stared at my phone, frozen. My fingers hovered over the screen as the images burned themselves into my memory. Scarlett's Instagram story played on loop, clinking glasses, laughter, over candlelight, the glowing amber flicker of a cake illuminated with the number 60. My father's birthday, my family, my ex, everyone was there. Everyone except me. There was Mom, perfectly put together, as always, dabbing her eyes dramatically as Dad made a toast. Scarlett, my golden sister, in a designer dress she probably borrowed from a brand she was influencing, and Solomon, of all people, seated comfortably at my father's right hand, laughing like he belonged. I blinked at the screen, hoping it would change, hoping I'd somehow misread it, that maybe it was a business event or a surprise dinner with clients. But no, the caption said it all. Family first. Happy 60th Dad. Here's to the ones who truly matter. I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. I wasn't invited. No text, no call, not even a lazy group message. And the worst part wasn't the exclusion itself, it was the fact that no one noticed. I checked my phone's messages out of habit. Nothing. Then, as if on cue, a text arrived from Mom. Oh, sweetie, it was a last-minute thing. Just a small gathering. You know how these things happen. Love you. Last minute. I zoomed in on the wine bottle on the table in one of the photos, a 2015 Brut di Montalcino. I helped my father choose that wine. 3 weeks ago, he called me, asking for something bold and celebratory. I spent an hour comparing notes, sending links, even called the restaurant to ensure they had it. It wasn't a coincidence, none of it was it was planned. And I was the only one not invited. Across from me, at our usual booth, in Caffeine Cove, Cora was stirring her coffee, unaware of the emotional storm I was barely containing. We'd been meeting here every Thursday. Since college, it was the only ritual that had stayed intact through all the years of failed relationships, job changes, and family drama. You okay? She asked, finally noticing my silence. I turned my phone so she could see the photos. They had Dad's birthday dinner last night. At Vincenzo's. Cora's brow furrowed. Wait, you weren't there? Nope. Is that Solomon? Front and center, I muttered. Right next to my dad. Cora leaned closer. But didn't Solomon ghost you after borrowing $50,000? I finished for her. And yes, he did. My loving, supportive family invited him to the party, but not me. She sat back slowly, mouth opening but no words coming out. I looked back at the photos. Scarlett had posted more. In one, she was leaning on Solomon's shoulder, laughing like he wasn't the same man who vanished the minute his last check cleared. In another, he was clinking glasses with my dad, toasting to something. I could practically hear his voice oozing charm and manipulation. Cora shook her head. I mean, this is beyond toxic. Have you called your dad? What's the point? I said, trying to sound flippant. He'll just say, Mom and Scarlett organized everything. He always hides behind, I didn't know. Silence settled between us. Not the comfortable kind, the heavy, sticky kind that says this is too big to brush off. I took a deep breath. You want to know the worst part? Cora nodded. I'm not even surprised. I've always been the afterthought. The Flynn, the oh yeah, and Nicole, too. I guess I finally got the message. Cora reached across the eatable and took my hand. I know it doesn't help, she said quietly, but this isn't about you. This is about control. It always has been with your mom. I used to think that, I whispered. But lately, I'm starting to think it's about erasing me. Cora frowned. You don't mean that, don't I? They've been reshaping reality for years, gaslighting, rewriting history. Solomon stealing from me? I misunderstood the arrangement. Scarlett getting my job interview cancelled. Just a coincidence. Mom going cold every time I brought up feeling excluded. You're too sensitive. My voice caught in my throat. They make me feel crazy, Cora, and the worst part is, I start to believe it. We sat in silence for a moment. The cafe's chatter hummed around us, soft indie music playing. Overhead, milk being steamed at the bar, someone laughing loudly at a back table. All of it felt like it belonged to a different universe. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I did. A new text. From Dad. Great wine recommendation. Sweetheart, Really made the evening special. You always had good taste. My breath left me in a rush. Sweetheart, he still used that word like it meant something. Like he hadn't just toasted his birthday without his only other child present. Cora's eyes widened when she saw the text over my shoulder. What? I stared at the screen, and something in me, something old and buried, began to stir. It wasn't rage. Not quite, not yet. It was clarity. I'd spent my life twisting myself into whatever version of Nicole they could tolerate. Quiet Nicole. Helpful Nicole. Don't rock the boat. Nicole. I had collected every slight, every betrayal, like pebbles in my pocket, too afraid to throw even one. But now, I looked at the wine bottle again in the photo. 2015 Brunello, DMONTALCINO. My wine. My knowledge. My effort. Given freely, used effortlessly, by them. By him. That was the moment something snapped. I still have it. I said out loud. Cora blinked. Have what? The folder. Every message. Every lie. Every bank transfer. Every promise Solomon made before he ghosted. Her eyes widened. Nicole, I kept it because I thought maybe someday, if it got bad enough, I'd need proof. I opened my phone, tapped into my email, and there it was. Folder. Solomon Legal, do not delete. Hadn't opened it in months. I'd let shame keep it closed, but not anymore. Cora leaned in as I scrolled. Is that? Every text. Every email. Every time he said, I'll pay you back after my next investor signs on. I tapped on one thread. Baby please, you know I'm good for it. This is the one. Revolutionary AI platform. We're gonna be rich. Another. The 50K was always meant to be an investment, not a loan. You're making this weird by asking for repayment. I looked up at Cora. He's doing it again? To my dad. Cora stared at me like she wasn't sure whether to cheer or beg me to stop. You think that's why he was invited? Of course it is. This is his pattern. He gets close to someone in power, flatters them, paints a big dream, takes their money, then disappears. Rinse and repeat. Cora let out a breath. Nicole, this is serious. If you expose him, he deserves to be exposed. Okay, but you realize this won't just affect him. Your mom, Scarlett. They'll lose it. They'll go nuclear. I felt the heat rise in my chest, not fear, not guilt, but resolve. They've been rewriting reality long enough. It's time someone handed them a mirror. That night, I sat cross-legged on my couch, surrounded by the soft blue light of my laptop screen. My apartment was silent, save for the occasional honk outside and the ticking of the old clock my dad gave me back in college, back when he still showed up for me. I reopened the Solomon Legal folder. Every digital breadcrumb, every manipulated memory, was right there, waiting, organized, chronological, undeniable. My fingers moved slowly, dragging screenshots into a new document. I added notes, context, bank transfer receipts, and personal statements. I pulled up the proposal Solomon sent me months ago, his revolutionary AI pitch, and matched it against the tech buzzwords he'd started peppering into LinkedIn posts. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was a case file. At 12:03 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Cora. Still sure about this? I replied without hesitation. Never been more sure. Then I opened a new email and typed the subject line. What you should know before you sign anything, and in the body, Dad, I'm attaching documentation that outlines a pattern of deception and financial manipulation Solomon has used with me and others. This isn't revenge, it's a warning. I couldn't stop him from hurting me, but maybe I can stop him from hurting you. Love, Nicole. My cursor hovered over send. I thought of Mom's voice telling me not to make waves, of Scarlett calling me jealous and dramatic, of Dad's casual sweetheart as if I hadn't just been erased. I clicked send, and just like that, I wasn't invisible anymore. It took less than 24 hours for the cracks to appear. By morning, my email showed that Dad had read the message around for 12 a.m., no reply. No text. Just silence. The kind that doesn't just sit still, it echoes. I spent the day trying to focus on client work. But my cursor blinked on a blank Illustrator file like it knew I didn't have it in me. Every sound outside made me think it was someone from my family or Solomon. Come to talk. More like spin. But then, around noon, it happened. A new message appeared. Not from Dad, from someone I hadn't spoken to in nearly a year. Lisa Harper, Solomon's ex-business partner. The subject line. Simply read, I saw what's happening. I have proof. My chest tightened. I opened it. Nicole, You don't know me well, but I know what Solomon did to you. He did the same to me. Stole contacts, forged documents, promised returns that never came. I tried to warn others, but your family defended him publicly after your breakup. I stopped trying. But now I see what you've shared. I want to help. Would you like the documents? My hands trembled as I typed back. Yes, absolutely. Minutes later, my inbox flooded, PDF after PDF of contracts with manipulated terms, emails full of red flags, even bank statements showing fund withdrawals hours before deadlines. Same script, different victim. But this time, I wasn't alone. I compiled everything, then forwarded it to Margaret, a friend from college, who now worked in corporate litigation, with a simple message. Does this rise to SEC attention? She responded, 2 hours later, not only yes, I've already made a call. You're going to want to sit down. And that's when I knew, this wasn't just personal anymore. This was criminal. That evening, I opened Instagram. Against every ounce of self-preservation instinct, I typed in Scarlett's profile. New post. Caption. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Hashtag family first. Hashtag blood over drama. Hashtag truth wins the image. A close-up of a wine glass and a blurry figure in the background, laughing. It was me. From 2 years ago, smiling at one of Solomon's launch parties. The implication was loud. Look how happy she was then. Look how ungrateful she is now. Comments poured in under it. Sisters always bring drama. So fake to act like the victim now. Where's your sister's side of the story? And then, one that made me pause. Why are we only hearing your version, Scarlett? I stared at it. More comments appeared, not many, but enough. Cracks in the curated lie. The tide was shifting slowly, quietly, but undeniably. My phone rang. Dad, I answered immediately. You saw. I saw everything, he said. He sounded tired. She's defending him. Your mother, I mean. Says Scarlett's just protecting the family. My throat went tight. Are you? Am I what? Still investing with him. A pause. No. I'm pulling out of the deal. Selling the house to. I blinked your. Selling. I can't stay here, not after this. The lake house feels more like home anyway. That stunned me. The lake house, my place, our quiet place. For years, that house had been my escape. The only spot untouched by Scarlett's selfies, or Mom's gossip. It had a sagging dock, faded shutters, and smelled faintly of mildew, but it was mine. I'm glad. I said. How are you holding up? He chuckled weakly. Oh, you know. Just watching my wife defend a scam artist, while my daughter turns me into the internet villain of the month, living the dream. Nicole. His voice dropped. Come visit me this weekend. No drama, no phones, just us. We'll fish like when you were little. That simple offer felt like a lifeline. Something steady in a world tipping over. I'd like that, I said. After we hung up, I leaned back in my chair and smiled. Not because it was over, but because for the first time in years, I wasn't pretending it was fine. Later that night, I got another email. From Virgil, the lawyer Margaret had looped in. Subject, SEC, wants to speak to you formally. Lisa's documents plus yours equals real case. Cora, read over my shoulder. Still, think you should have just stayed quiet? I thought of all the years I'd let myself be cast as jealous, unstable, dramatic, a problem to be contained. Of Solomon charming my family while erasing me. Of Scarlett rewriting our history, one hashtag at a time. No, I said. They thought excluding me from that dinner was punishment. I looked out the window. It was a wake-up call. Cora nodded. Truth doesn't need a filter. And I'm done performing for theirs. The lake house looked exactly the same. Weathered, blue shutters, creaky screen door. That old wooden dock stretching toward the foggy horizon. Dad was waiting on the porch with 2 coffees when I pulled up. You remember the fishing gear? He asked. In the trunk, I said. Along with those disgusting cheese crackers you love. He laughed. That's the real reason I wanted you here. But his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Up close, I saw it. The lines, the slump in his shoulders, the weariness that no Instagram filter could hide. Come on, he said, handing me a coffee. We need to talk. We settled into the Adirondack, chairs facing the water, the dock creaking softly beneath us, the air carrying the scent of pine and nostalgia. Morning sunlight painted the lake in soft golds, like a memory trying to comfort the present. Dad took a long sip from his mug. When did it start? With Solomon, I mean. I took a breath. The money. Or the manipulation. Both, So I told him. I told him everything. How Solomon had started small-assating me from friends under the guise of being protective. How every financial red flag came sugar-coated with charm and urgency. How the original loan was just $5,000, but he kept returning. One last time, Nicole, I swear. And somehow, last time turned into $50,000. Dad's jaw tensed. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I tried, I said, quietly. Last Christmas, remember? I mentioned it over dinner. His brow furrowed. Mom told me I was being dramatic. Scarlett rolled her eyes. And you, I hesitated. You changed the subject, I finished. He closed his eyes, guilt carving new lines into his face, like I always do. A fish jumps somewhere out on the water. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful, it was heavy. I let them steamroll you, Dad said finally. Your mom's intensity, Scarlett's drama. It was easier to keep the peace than confront them. I thought I was protecting the family. He set his coffee down and looked at me not as a father trying to fix things, but as a man finally facing the damage. I failed you. My throat tightened. Dad. No, let me finish. When I saw those emails, what Solomon did, how he used, why realized something. I didn't just fail to protect you. I helped them hurt you. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I just let it land. For the first time, he let it land to my phone, buzzed in my pocket. Probably another alert about Scarlett's campaign or a tabloid headline. I ignored it. You know what's weird? I said, trying to lift the weight between us. If they'd just invited me to that dinner, none of this would have happened. Dad raised an eyebrow. Solomon would have gotten your investment. Mom would have kept her perfect family photo. And I would have stayed quiet, like always. He shook his head. And I would have lost everything. I looked at him. The money, sure, he continued, but more than that. My chance to see the truth. Not just about Solomon. About your mother. About Scarlett. About myself. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. Well, he said dryly. Your mom's lawyers finally responded. How bad? She wants the house. Half of my business interests, and she's claiming emotional distress. Says I turned our daughter against the family. He let out a short, bitter laugh. That's rich, coming from the woman who invited your con artist ex to your birthday dinner. I laughed too because the alternative was screaming. He scrolled again. Virgil sensed something else. The SEC is going public next week. Multiple charges. They're calling it a Ponzi scheme now. I froze. Have you told Mom? She won't answer, but Scarlett. He handed me his phone. Check out her latest story. I tapped. Scarlett, posing with Solomon, her arms around him. Caption, standing, by good people in bad times. The truth will prevail. I handed the phone back. It is, I said flatly. Just not their version of it. Dad stood up suddenly and stretched. Let's go fishing. All this, he gestured to our buzzing phones, can wait. He grabbed the rods from the porch. I want to hear about you. Your work. Your dreams. The real stuff I missed while I was playing referee. The hours that followed felt like borrowed time from another life. The kind before betrayal and headlines and courtrooms. Just us, on the dock, the water lapping gently beneath our feet. I told him about my graphic design clients, the children's book I'd been illustrating in secret. About how creating had been the only thing to keep me grounded. He smiled. You used to sit out here and draw the birds for hours. Your mom called it a waste of time. Said you should be more practical. I nodded. Like Scarlett. I should have defended you. You're defending me now. He looked at me, eyes misting. Too little, too late. I stared at the water. Thought of every time I let their version of me win. And I shook my head. No, I think it's right on time. As the sun climbed higher, my phone buzzed again. Margaret, Solomon's lawyers want to discuss a settlement. They know what's coming. I showed Dad the message. Your call, he said. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. This time all the way. I stared out at the lake, at the quiet ripples, at the truth finally stirring beneath the surface. No deal, I said. Some things are worth more than money. He smiled. That's my girl. The next morning, I was on Cora's couch, nursing a third cup of coffee, when Solomon's face appeared across every local news station. Serial entrepreneur Solomon Davis charged in federal court today. The headline beneath his clean image read, SEC, multi-million-dollar investment, fraud scheme exposed. Turn it up, Cora said. sliding the remote across the table, facing multiple charges of wire fraud, securities fraud, and operating a Ponzi scheme that investigators claim targeted over 24 private investors. My phone exploded in my lap. Group chats, mentions, screenshots, Scarlett's Instagram, silent, but mom. Oh, she wasn't. Her latest post, family stands together in crisis. The media doesn't know the whole story. My daughter is being manipulated. Cora leaned over to look at my screen. She really said that? Yeah, I muttered, tapping open my email. A message from Lisa blinked at the top. They're interviewing me tomorrow. You Thursday. I typed back quickly. How are you holding up? A second later, better than Solomon. His lawyers just dropped him. I didn't even have time to respond before my phone lit up again. Dad, you watching? He asked. Yeah, Fallout's ugly, he said. Your mother's hysterical. Says I've ruined her reputation. Claims you and I plotted this. She really thinks we're Bond villains. He didn't laugh. Scarlett knows the truth. Now. I sat up straighter. What? Virgil showed her the full file. The emails between your mother and Solomon. Turns out your mother reconnected with him just after you two broke up. They were grooming the whole situation. I blinked, stunned. Wait, Mom orchestrated this. He sighed. She thought bringing Solomon into the family would give her the social status she always wanted. She didn't believe you, Nicole, because she didn't want to. I didn't speak. Because there was nothing to say. My phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown number. I opened it. You destroyed everything I built. I hope you're happy. Solomon, no apology, just blame. I forwarded it to Margaret without a second thought. Dad, there's more, he said. Scarlett's here at the lake house. I froze. What? She wants to talk to you. My hands trembled as I held the phone tighter. Put her on. There was rustling. Then, her voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. Hey, I swallowed hard. Hey, she exhaled shakily. I was wrong about everything. Mom showed me only parts of the messages. Said Solomon was being framed. Said you were bitter. I believed her, because it was easier than admitting we hurt you. I stayed silent. I was horrible. The dinner, the stories, the lies online. I chose the easy narrative over you. Nicole. She paused, breath catching. Even now, Mom's defending him. She's convinced the court's corrupt. That you framed him with your little art friends. Scarlett laughed bitterly. She's completely lost. I shut my eyes, tears stinging. It's not just about that dinner, she said. It's years of silencing you, of excluding you, of calling you bitter for pointing out the obvious. I'm so sorry. The words didn't erase anything, but they cracked something open. Before I could respond, another alert flashed across my screen. Breaking. Solomon Davis arrested. Multiple victims come forward. Scarlett's voice broke again. You seeing this? Yeah, Mom's still at his lawyer's office. Trying to help with his defense. Begging them to let her testify on his behalf. She really can't let go of her fantasy. I murmured. No, Scarlett whispered. But I'm done living in it. She took a breath. Can we talk in person? Maybe at that coffee shop you like. I thought of every olive branch I'd offered her before, every time I got burned. But I also thought of Dad, finally standing up. Of the truth finally cracking through. Tomorrow, I said. 10 a.m. Scarlett exhaled. Thank you. After we hung up, Cora looked over. You sure about that? No, I admitted. But I'm not doing it for her. Or for Mom. Or for some fairy tale reunion. I just want to see who she really is without the filters. My phone pinged again. Margaret, Solomon's taking a plea deal. Your testimony won't be needed. It's over. I stared at the words for a long time. No, I thought it's just beginning. The next morning, Maple Coffee House was quiet. Except for the gentle hum of the espresso machine and the clink of cups on saucers. I sat at our usual table by the window. My fingers curled around warm porcelain. The bell above the door chimed. Scarlett walked in. No glam, no lashes, no tailored coat, or dramatic lipstick. Just jeans, a hoodie, and swollen eyes. She looked real. I ordered your usual, I said, as she sat down. Oat milk latte. Extra shot. She blinked. You remembered. She cradled the cup like it was the only warm thing she had left in the world. I just came from Mom's, she said. She's still spiraling. Thinks Solomon was framed. Says you manipulated Dad. She wants me to help her launch a fundraiser for Solomon's defense. I blinked. Please tell me you didn't. Scarlett shook her head. For the first time in my life, I told her no. I nodded slowly. How'd she take it? She said I was disloyal. That I'm choosing you over her. Scarlett looked down. But maybe I am. Because watching her lie to herself, to everyone made me realize I've been doing the same thing. She pulled out her phone and handed it to me, her Instagram profile empty, wiped clean. All those posts, she said, about you, about Solomon, about our perfect family. I deleted everything. It felt freeing. My phone buzzed. A message from Dad. Moving trucks at the house today. Your mother's leaving. I showed it to Scarlett. Good, she said simply. Maybe without her. We can start over. She hesitated, then reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Inside was a stack of printed screenshots, all of them. The fake ones, the stories, the lies, the filtered messages. Even captions she had scripted with Mom's help. I'm going to post a full retraction, Scarlett said. All of it. The truth. You don't have to. I do, she said firmly. Not for Mom. Not for forgiveness. For us. My phone lit up once more. A final message from Mom. I hope you're satisfied with the family you've destroyed. Scarlett saw it too. She never change, will she? I shook my head. Probably not. But we can, she said, lifting her coffee. 2 second chances. The sun was low when I returned to the lake house that evening. A dusky orange washed over the quiet water, and the wind rustled through the trees like a whispered exhale. Cora stood barefoot on the porch, arms crossed, holding a stack of old photo albums we'd found in Dad's attic. Thought these might help you remember who you were before all of them tried to rewrite your story, she said. Inside. I placed the albums beside my suitcase. I had decided to stay at the lake house for a while. Margaret said with Solomon's plea deal finalized and the SEC freezing his accounts, I'd be repaid eventually. But the money wasn't why I stayed, it was the stillness, the quiet, the realness of this place. No masks, no curated filters. Just peeling paint and creaking boards and the memory of childhood sunlight. Dancing through the dock slats. I checked my phone. Scarlett's post had gone up. A single photo. No filters, no edits, just our coffee cups. The broken croissant. The caption read, no more performances. This is the truth. I hurt my sister. I believed lies because they were easier than facing what we did. I made her the villain in a story that was mine. I was wrong. This isn't for pity. This is for truth. Nicole, I'm sorry. Publicly, personally, permanently. The comments came in waves. Some disbelieving, some angry, many supportive. But the post wasn't about them. It was about her finally choosing honesty. And for once, I believed her. Later that night, I sat with Dad on the dock, wrapped in a blanket as the moonlight shimmered over the lake. She really posted it, he asked, handing me a mug of hot cider. Word for word, I said. And she took everything else down. He nodded slowly. Maybe that old boathouse art studio isn't such a bad idea after all. I looked at him. You're really doing it, he sipped, retiring fully next month. I've already talked to a contractor. We'll need to tear out the storage area and raise the roof for the skylight. You okay with that? I laughed, surprised by how much it moved me. More than okay. He paused. Nicole, I spent so long watching from the sidelines, letting your mother shape the narrative, letting Scarlett play star daughter. And you were always just there, making everyone else's lives easier. You were surviving, Dad. I was escaping, he corrected gently. I see that now, and I'm done hiding behind peacekeeping. You deserve a father who shows up, not just one who apologizes after the damage is done. I swallowed against the lump in my throat. I think this is the first time I've felt seen in years. He put a hand on mine. That's not changing again. We sat in silence. No need for words. Just the rhythm of waves slapping against wood. 2 days later, Scarlett pulled into the gravel driveway, her little red car packed to the roof. Staying long? I asked as she stepped out, holding a box labeled no filters. If Dad meant it when he said I could help paint the studio, she said, then yeah, I'm staying a while. Dad came out to greet her, coffee in one hand, paint swatches in the other. Over the next few days, something shifted. The air softened. Scarlett and I painted the old boathouse together, hands splattered with pale green and sunlight yellow. Cora dropped by with her dog and her famous almond scones. Dad made his terrible chili. We told him it was still awful. He smiled like it was the best compliment he'd ever received. On the last night before the studio was officially finished, we dragged a mattress out to the dock under the stars. Me, Scarlett, Cora, a bottle of cheap wine between us, and memories we were finally letting go of. "Do you think Mom will ever apologize?" Scarlett asked. I shook my head. "She doesn't live in a world where she's ever wrong. I just ... She looked up at the sky. I wanted so badly to be enough for her. "We both did," I said. "But we were always just props," Scarlett whispered. "In her performance." "No," Cora said. "You were real. You are now." Scarlett turned to me. "I know I'll never undo what I did. But I'm trying." "I see that," I said. "And I'm trying to." We fell asleep like that. Beneath the stars. No accusations. No wounds reopened. Just space between us, held with care. Months passed. The settlement money arrived. I used some to finally publish the children's book I'd been illustrating for years, The Girl Who Spoke to Shadows. It hit a small bestseller list and earned glowing reviews for its honesty and depth. Dad built bookshelves into the art studio and called it Nicole's Nest. Scarlett started a mental health podcast, stripped of her old influencer persona. She called it Unfiltered. The tagline was simple: "It's okay to be messy." Mom tried once more to rally the family around her, but this time, no one showed up. Even her social media followers began to dwindle. People wanted the truth now, not pageantry. One day, I found a letter tucked under my pillow at the lake house. Scarlett's handwriting. "I used to envy you. You had integrity. I had followers. You were brave. I was loud. You spoke the truth. I learned to lie. Thank you for being louder than our silence. For choosing truth even when we didn't deserve it. This time, I'm choosing it too." The lake house became more than a home. It became a sanctuary. A place where truth was spoken freely, even when it hurt. Where apologies weren't followed by excuses. Where art lived, and stories were painted with flaws intact. One evening, Cora stood in the doorway of the studio, watching me sketch illustrations for my second book. "You know what I love about this place?" she said. "It's not perfect, but it's honest." I smiled. "Kind of like us." She kissed my forehead. "Especially like you." I looked at the dock through the window. Two girls were sitting at the edge, me and Scarlett, not children anymore, but something like sisters. Real ones. Finally. And in the end, no filter could capture that. Not the betrayal. Not the pain. Not the healing. Only truth could. And we were finally ready to live it. Together.